All right, I'd like to welcome Charlie Patterson to the podcast this week. It's we were just talking about Turnpike Day, so I'm excited. I just told you that it's Turnpike Day, so I'm sure you're ready to get out of here and go listen. But
yeah, I appreciate you swiping up my stories. My post a good country song, good way to stay in touch.
You got some good taste.
I appreciate it. I appreciate it.
I want to start just kind of updating people on what you're doing right now. You're not a football player anymore.
Nope.
You are a nurse at Memorial.
All I got is injuries to show for my football career now. But yep, I got back in December. Took some time to get back with my family, and I started at Memorial 3 weeks ago. About March 17th was my first day. So finishing up orientation, getting taught all the good business. You don't learn a lot about nursing playing football, but certainly a lot of good things I learned from football that are helping me out and keep me a hard worker. So.
Yeah, so we were just talking before we turned the cameras on, and in your interview process at Memorial to be a nurse, you joked about it, but what did you tell them?
They asked me my strengths, and you're being a new grad nurse is already kind of a odd thing. You're kind of unprepared, and you learn a lot on the field. So
yeah.
I was already nervous, and then I took 6 months off to play some more football, and they were asking me my strengths, and I just wanted to tell them that I was good at hitting quarterbacks, good at getting sideline to sideline. But yeah, I just told them that I was going to be a hard worker, and that's kind of what I'd learned from my years playing football, wrestling, everything. And it was odd, but I think they're seeing it now that I'm working a little bit. But yeah, I probably could have had a little more confidence as far as my nursing competency.
Hey, as I know, my wife works at Memorial. They need good nurses, so I'm sure they're happy to have you.
Yeah.
So last time you were on the Channel 1450 website was, I think I sat down with you and Destin.
Mm-hmm.
You're at Illinois College, and you were getting ready to graduate. So give us an update on how everything happened to where you got to play another year and go down to Texas and play football.
I tried to organize my thoughts before I got here because it's kind of an odd story. So I came into college in 2020, so I always knew I had the COVID year. Didn't know if I was going to use it or not. And then, yeah, my senior year, that year we talked, I was kind of coming into my own as a football player. I had a good junior year there, but I just wasn't playing the way I knew I could play, and I was finally starting to do that.
Yeah.
So I already had it in my head. I was like, I want to do my fifth year, and at the time, I had 3 classes I needed to take in that following fall of 2024. And went and met with my counselor and found out that I only had 1 class to take, so that kind of changed things, but still was going to stick it out, stay there, and play my 5th year season there. And then our defense coordinator, Craig Neese, who had came there my spring of my freshman year and was just a crucial part and turned me into the player I wanted to be. I always think I had the beginnings of a good player, but it wasn't really happening those first 2 years. And he turned me into the player I wanted to be and kind of continued to grow me. And he took a job at Hardin-Simmons in Abilene, Texas. Trying to think, would have been in March of 2024 during that spring, right before we started spring ball. And that just kind of got my gears turning of what I wanted to spend my last season. My body was tore up. I didn't really know if I wanted to keep playing football. I think I always knew deep down I wasn't going to be able to leave with a year of eligibility, so I just kind of started talking to him about it. He kind of told me if I was serious about it, I needed to get in the portal, which was a crazy thing for me to think about. I never had that. I never had a plan to do that. I didn't understand the process very well, but I just kind of talked to my family, and they said that if it was in my head, I might as well get in the portal and explore it. And Coach D at Illinois College was very, very helpful for such kind of a different situation. It's not that I wanted to leave. It was just in order for me to graduate, I would have had to finish at Illinois College. So he was very understanding, kind of communicated with them, the other coaches, the players that I'd spent all my time with, my best friends, and got in the portal, still hadn't made a decision. And I think around this time, April, went and visited Coach Neese and the Cowboys at Hardin-Simmons, and it was a great first visit, but by no means was I set. It was just I was so back and forth doing pros and cons, and looked at other schools and stuff, didn't get that feeling from the other schools. Got some kind of cool offers, but just knew if I was going to do it, it was going to be either at Illinois College with my best friends and the coaches there that I trusted, or taking a chance with Coach Neese, who I knew trusted me and I trusted him. And in the end, I just kind of rolled the dice, closed my eyes, and chose to go to Hardin-Simmons, and turned out to be a great decision.
As a kid from Auburn, Illinois, what was it like going down to visit Texas football and say, "Hey, I'm going to play football here in college"?
Getting called a Yankee a lot. I got that quite a bit. It was weird. Coach Neese tried to really tell them who I was. Knew who I was before I got there, which in a weird way, and I still don't. I'm skinnier than I was then, but I wasn't very big back then. He was telling them he was bringing in this all-American linebacker that liked to hit people in the head, and I rolled up there with a gimp ankle and smaller biceps than everybody on the team, including the quarterbacks and stuff. So it was humbling. It was what I wanted. It was like the motivation to go there. I saw how much they cared, how much the culture, how much the funding went into football. It was a different world of what they got to live in. The high school stadiums were bigger than anything I played in and bigger than anything I was going to play in. It blew away anything. But yeah, it was just really cool and definitely a good culture shock. But they told me they were going to show me how real football was played, but I think they didn't know what Sangamo prepared me pretty well, and as we've seen, there was lots of good guys that came out of there, so I always knew, but certainly, yeah, it was a weird summer of kind of trying to figure out confidence. I've been the guy at Illinois College, was used to having everybody kind of respect the way I played, knew what I was doing, but I kind of had to prove myself, which was why I wanted to go there. I needed to get uncomfortable and kind of change how I was doing things.
A lot of people around here would say Auburn's pretty country, but what's the difference like in Texas?
See, that's why I went there expecting the first day to put on a cowboy hat and go to a rodeo or go shoot some hogs out of the back of the truck. And if I'm being honest, I hope they don't take offense. I lived with a bunch of city boys compared to what I grew up with in Auburn, so they kind of were always telling me, and they kind of thought I was a city kid. And for some reason, Craig Neese, my defense coordinator, thought I was a city kid. He's from St. Louis. I don't know if he'd never been to Auburn or what, but I'd say I knew not a lot of corn and soybeans down there. So it was a different kind of country, but honestly, yeah, it was a lot more city boys than I thought. Not that there's not a lot of country in Texas, but I wasn't exposed to as much of that as I maybe thought I was going to be.
The transfer portal, you talked about, that kind of process and how interesting that was. Once you got your name in there and figured that all out, and you knew, okay, I want to play one more year, how exciting was that just to kind of have a new opportunity? Because I mean, don't get me wrong, I know you loved Illinois College and that was great, but like it had to be pretty cool to say, hey, I got some options here. Let's kind of explore that a little bit.
That was what I said. It was the first time in a long time I'd had options as far as even just deciding if I wanted to get in the transfer portal or not. That was my first option. Took that option and just kind of exposed everything. And I didn't get a lot of recruiting out of high school. We had some people come to Coach Bates's office in the weight room and talk to us and tell us we could come if we want. Me and my buddy Colin DuBois, and we're like, I was like, I'm not gonna play. I didn't really like the way it felt, and then decided just kind of in the middle of the summer to go to Illinois College. So I never really did the recruiting process. So it was really cool to start seeing people flood my Twitters, and then you just kind of gotta. I was really new to it, so I had to decipher what was real, what was auto-generated messages. First person that contacted me was Indiana Hoosiers. So you gotta figure out what's real and what's not. Obviously, they're kind of sending out anything in the transfer portal. But I talked to a lot of good coaches, and I found out quickly it wasn't for me. I was not meant to be in the transfer portal talking to a lot of different coaches trying to sell myself. I just kind of needed someone that trusted me already, and that was ultimately what made my decision.
Well, I bet if people looked at your resume from last year, they wish that they would have contacted you a little bit more. Go ahead and I know you don't like to, but can you list off a few of the accomplishments from last year? Because for those who don't know, you were one of the top players in Division III football last year.
I have to get my phone out to read it all.
Okay.
Coach Neese he's credit for all of it. It doesn't just take playing. You got to have someone submit you. So definitely thanks to Coach Neese and everyone at Hardin-Simmons. Coach B's got a lot of respect in the football community, and I think that's where a lot of my awards came from. But I was a first team All-American on I think every platform, I got another award I think for being on every platform. A couple finalist player of the years. Honestly, I couldn't tell you the name of half of them. I reposted them on Twitter, but our season was over at that point, so I was kind of still licking my wounds, just wishing I was getting those awards, but I would have traded anything to play one more game or just do what I
To get the chance to play Luke Lane in the championship.
Yeah, that would have been pretty cool. And one of the GAs there was Kyle Lane, who was one of my best friends at Illinois College, and who was a big part of my football career and kind of getting me back on that COVID year. It's not a lot of training football. I wasn't doing the right things, and he always kept me straight. And he was a GA there, so yeah, it would have been I usually ended a lot of if we were getting too cocky at Hardin-Simmons, which we very rarely did, but I would just let them know there was a team down north that was doing all the right things, and we always talked about that. But yeah.
Man, I went to go see North Central play when they played at Milliken this year, just to make sure to get to see Luke one last time before he graduated. And dude, it's another level.
Yeah.
Like, I know Division III football is really good, and you have to be really good to get a chance to play no matter what, anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
But that team is just absurd.
They got depth, they got everything, and just from the little bit I know about it, talking to Kyle and just seeing their accomplishments, they just do things the right way, which is what I got at Hardin-Simmons, which was I just wanted to play somewhere warm. That's why I always think Hardin-Simmons is a better place to go than there. But yeah, no, that place they do things the right way, and it shows, and they got a lot of talented players that come from there.
You were definitely a part of kind of the building of Illinois College and how that program continued to ascend and win a conference championship. So how much of the process of picking where you wanted to go is this a program that I'm gonna go 0-9, or we got a chance to really compete?
That was one term I used. So I think at Illinois College, if we wouldn't have found a way to win what we did last year, I think I would have had a lot more drive to come back. But I just kind of felt like we accomplished what I wanted to do there. Obviously, there's a lot bigger goals and playoffs and stuff, but I kind of felt satisfied with what I'd done there. I was really happy with what we accomplished. And then at Hardin-Simmons, I just kind of went there and watching their practices. Hardin-Simmons was going to be Hardin-Simmons whether I went there or not, which was a good feeling for me. They didn't really need me. They wanted me, which was nice, but they didn't need me. Yeah, their culture was going to be this. It's been the same 10 years from now. It's still got a lot of growing to do to get to where they want to be. Obviously, going 10-1 wasn't our goal, and there's got to be something we were doing wrong that needs to get fixed. And they were right back to work as soon as that day was over, sending out group meetings and stuff, telling us when the workout times were going to be. So, wish I would have gotten more time there, but yeah, it was a place that I knew. I think I could have gone 5. I mean, playing that tough of a schedule, you can. Couple injuries, one bad loss at the beginning of the season, it can go downhill really fast, and luckily we went 10-0 in the regular season, so I'm just guessing, but I think I would have been just as happy going 5-5 and just playing 10 really hard games with a bunch of guys that wanted to play hard no matter what.
Knowing that you're going into the nursing field and having that all wrapped up, how hard was that to take that helmet off the last time?
I mean, it's the weirdest feeling. I was bummed out. I was angry. I spent a lot of time in the office. Luckily, Coach Mitchell, Matt Mitchell, was a 5-year captain at Hardin-Simmons, I believe. Linebacker, kind of who they said I was replacing. I don't think I could ever fill his shoes as far as a leader and just how he really did play the game. But he was a first-year linebackers coach for us, and he was one of the most influential people I've had in my life as far as how I play football and how I act off the field. But he'd been through the same thing, kind of. Sadly, Hardin-Simmons went through kind of the similar loss the year before, just a really great season, and then just coming up short it was the second round since we got a bye, but it was our first playoff game. It was a first round loss, and it took some time, but they gave me perspective, and they're big on they're not playing football, they're playing football for God, and that's what they do things for, and they imparted that on me, and took some time for me to get perspective on it. But yeah, I was gutted, and my parents were gutted. I got to see a different side of my mom and dad enjoying football in a different community, and my parents loved tailgating and stuff, but that's not really what it was about there. It was more about getting in the stands. They met a lot of people that just loved football. It was that Texas football culture is different. It's a lot different than anything I'd experienced. So it was. I was gutted. I was gutted for the first couple of months I was home. I have better perspective now, but yeah, I was probably saying things I didn't mean, just as far as what it just kind of changed the experience for me, but doesn't really take anything away from it.
Coming from the Auburn community where you grew up wrestling and playing football, how much did the end of your wrestling career help you deal with the end of your football career?
Coach Grimm, I owe him for I saw lots of kids crumble when they were getting chewed out, and I was just so thankful that they couldn't actually put their hands on me, because I'd had a coach that could have been my practice partner every day, and lots of the grit and things that I think that I thought I kind of lacked in, that people always praised me for on the field. I just never realized what wrestling instilled in me, and Coach Grimm and Coach Will Marth and everybody in the Auburn wrestling community. It was a big part of me just being able to make it through nursing school and be a football player. All these things that people were surprised I was able to do. It just, I balanced whenever I was a 15-year-old how to cut weight and limit my drinking and eating intake while going to school and participate in everything, and then go and be a 160-pound linebacker in high school. Not that I was much bigger in college, but it was definitely something I thought about a lot and kept me, they say who got at Hardin Simmons, and it's just like a little thing, just like in the Navy, that they used to just kind of reinstill what you want, how you want to do things, how you want to be seen when you do things. And I think I've been getting that my whole life in wrestling, just in kind of a different way. So learned a lot from there, but I already had a lot of it kind of instilled in me, so I think that's what made it work.
You know, when you were up for, I can't remember what award it was, but
I try to pronounce it, the Gagliardi.
Yeah.
So
I'm sure Luke Layden can say it.
Yeah, he can say it. He can show us his trophies.
When you were up for that award, I believe it was, I found that picture of you when you were a wrestler.
Yeah,
I think it was your sophomore or junior year.
I think that might have been my freshman year.
And you were maybe, 140 pounds?
I think that
was freshman year, probably 120.
I recognized the picture. I think it was after, because my mom sent me a snippet. You have a clip of me and Caleb Nix with the most high-pitched voice ever. Caleb butchered his interview a lot worse than me. But yeah, I think that was freshman year. I was 120 pounds and getting ready to play linebacker right after that. So yeah, no, I appreciate you posting that. That was funny to show people.
I mean, to me, that really shows, like, it doesn't matter what type of body you have. Like, and I know you put so much work into being able to play football, and I don't want you to take that the wrong way, but like, how much of, you just talked about it a little bit, but how much of your success as a football player came from up here, and not just, the work you did in the weight room?
No, absolutely. I always worked hard in the weight room, but I was never going to be eating was always my crutch. I was never going to be someone that could sit down and eat 8,000, niece would write down 8,000 calories on 20 glasses of chocolate milk. I just couldn't.
Yeah.
That was my crutch. That was, I guess I tried to do it, but it just wasn't what I was able to do. So, yeah, I think just having always wanting to play hard. That was all I ever preached to the kids I played with. I had a lot of, like, Corey Walbert, Garrett Bearden, all those people I played with at Illinois College. We had a core group, and that's just all I begged at. I would jump a lot of people, and I was always grabbing face masks and screaming, but I never really cared about talent. I just wanted people to play as hard as I knew I was playing, and that's kind of what I got at Hardin Simmons, was just a culture of where I'd look around and be like, holy cow, these kids are working harder than me, and they're not getting the opportunities I'm getting, and they still care. You couldn't tell who was a starter and who wasn't, and that was what made it easy to just kind of find a new level of grit whenever you're out there in 105-degree heat getting your feet burned off. But I still get little ladies in the hospital, little old ladies telling me that there's no way I played football because I'm too small, and I'm just like, all right.
Here, let me show you that.
Yeah, sometimes I want to go grab my phone and let me show them, pop some helmets off, but just gotta take it.
I want to talk about the X's and O's a little bit. You coming from Auburn, having success there, was there a moment or a time where you really it clicked for you in terms of, watching film or learning defenses, learning offenses, and what can you speak to in terms of, how you excelled in that? Because you don't have the success you do without understanding where that ball's going and where you need to be.
Absolutely, and I'm not the most X's and O guys. I understand it in my head. I understand it from being in the box as a linebacker, but watching film, that was Coach K in high school always telling us we had the answers to the test, so I still always thought about that. That kind of instilled in me the enjoyment of watching film. I maybe wasn't breaking it down the way I should have, but I was watching my guards, kind of figuring out that. And then Ryan Gardner, who's now the head coach at Auburn, him and Danny Kerrigan and all them, they were great at instilling us they were trying to impart the X's and O's on us. I wasn't always understanding what we were saying, but I was getting it slowly. And then, Nice was the epitome, like just opening up my brain as far as what I can be as a linebacker, pass coverage. I really didn't play a lot of pass coverage in high school, which looking back, I was darn near a coverage backer my last year. But we switched defenses to a 3 front, and that just kind of opened up what all we had to do. I was the boundary backer. He gave me a ton of a ton of trust. Just pretty much had calls wherever I could do whatever I wanted, just because he knew I understood it. But watching film was by far the biggest part of just knowing what people are going to do, just kind of knowing your opponent, knowing everything. Especially as a linebacker, you can know where the ball's going as soon as it's snapped, and that's how I got TFLs. So I was usually downhill before the game, and I sat there and rocked my stance, which people made fun of me, but I just always wanted to get across the line of scrimmage as fast as I could, because tackles really don't mean anything to me unless they're behind the line. Everything else is patent stats.
I think that the reputation has changed a little bit in the past decade or so with the success of Monmouth, with the success of IC, with Luke Landon and what he's done at North Central. But what would you say to a kid who wants to play college football but says D3? That's not. I'm better than that. Like there's no way, if you go to a game and watch and you see the speed, see the physicality, see the talent, that you understand that, hey, it's a jump from high school. Yeah. I don't care where you go to D3.
There's definitely levels to it. I can tell funny. I think it was my sophomore year. I don't know if Coach Neese would want me to say this, but we were struggling. Just lots of kids that thought we were a lot better. We didn't understand that we all kind of came to the same thing. We just decided to play D3. We're like, we'll get to play. I had a little better understanding because I talked to Drew Chance. I knew I'd seen the kind of players that went to D3 and the ones that had success and the great players that weren't able to find success. And he told us one day, he's like, there's D3, but if they had a D5, you guys would be D5. And that always kind of stuck with me, just kind of the levels of D3. But what I would tell a kid is, one, like you said, you're not better than it if you think you are. Some obviously, if you are, you're going to have the opportunities to reach out. And in the landscape of football today, you can always move up and down, but rosters are getting cut short. So all I look for, and the thing I looked for going to Hardin-Simmons, is just finding a culture and a coach that you think can trust you. Obviously, you're not going to get guaranteed to play, but 4 years goes by really fast, and if you spend it wishing you were somewhere else or wishing you were getting the opportunities, you're not just spending the time working harder, developing inside a program and proving to the coaches what kind of player you are, whether it's talent or just kind of what work ethic you have. I think that's where D3 is different than Division I and Division II. Your work ethic can take you a lot farther. Obviously, Division I, Division II, everyone's got the talent, and it kind of depends on that, but you can just really set yourself apart because you have school, you have everything to balance. It's not about just being a talented football player. You got to find a way to balance everything and be the same player week 1 to week 10 without all the amenities. Obviously, at Hardin-Simmons and schools, like I'm sure North Central's got a lot better facilities and a lot better stuff to offer than some of the lower level D3, but you're still going to be beat up and still have to go to class, and travel is not the same. You're sleeping on a bus and stuff. So I'd say just having grit and finding a coach that trusts you, and you're not better than D3 most of the time.
Right, and I think you said work ethic, and I think just the discipline of, I've seen plenty of kids who signed to go play D3 that have the talent, that have the ability, that come from programs that are successful. But you have to mentally make that adjustment, because you have to say, I'm buying into this, and you're not going to go in as a freshman and just be an All-American. It doesn't work that way.
And it's really hard because the cultures, you'll have a really good part of your culture, but you're always going to have people that chose to go to D3 that don't have the same mindset to you, and there's lots of free time, lots of beer to be drank, lots of things to do, which there's a time and place for everything, but that was the biggest thing at Hardin-Simmons. If I went to the weight room and said, I don't want to be here today, I'm not interested, I'm not big of a lifter, I would have had 10 kids tell me to get out.
Yeah.
And even the last week that I was there, after I'd gotten all the award, they still would have told me to get out, and that's kind of what you need. It's hard to care that much, but if you want to win, you want to have fun doing it, it's a sacrifice, but it gets a lot easier once everyone kind of has the same mindset, same verbiage, everyone uses the same kind of language and everything. It's just really hard to do, but it takes really good coaches and a lot of people doing things that they're maybe not getting paid to do. It's no job's not your job. That's kind of the motto of D3, in my opinion. If you want to be successful, you just kind of have to put your pride to the side, and you're not always going to get it the way you want. Maybe you have to jump through certain hoops, but you can either complain about it or cowboy up and figure it out, because it's only going to get better that way.
There's also kids in that locker room and in the program that came from D1 and D2 in this landscape to where they understand, hey, this is my last chance.
Yeah.
And if you don't work harder than them, it doesn't matter because they probably have more talent than you. And that's the difference in the landscape now than it was probably 20 years ago.
Yeah, so I'm not fully in with whatever's happened, but I know they've cut down FBS rosters and FCS, so everyone's going to be trickling down. I know there's a lot of people that have good seasons in D3 and other divisions and want to transfer out and kind of use that, but that's what I always preach to people, just find a coach that trusts you, because it's a really cold world if you're at a school with a bunch of new kids. And it was hard for me being at Hardin-Simmons, even with a coach that kind of told them, hey, this is going to be our guy. Just kind of figure it out with a ton of great players. The kid that played next to me, Roden, and then plenty of the kids that were playing, kind of rotating. We had a big group of linebackers. Roden had more tackles than me, probably close to the amount of TFLs. He could have gotten every award I did, but he was selfless enough to let me play the way I wanted to and kind of stick in the box and break his neck for me while I got to run sideline to sideline. So it just takes a ton of people to get accolades and get anything in no matter what division you are.
You mentioned him a little bit ago, but Drew Chance, having a kid like that from Auburn, you got to go against him, so to speak, at IC. But what can you say just about him and his development and his mindset and just the way that he sees football? Because he's a special talent. Yeah,
he's certainly got a big up on me as far as X's and O's. I try to chat with him after practice about stuff. I was darn near see ball, get ball. I had to cut myself a little short, but just kind of the intensity you play the game. Him and Destin both just were competitors, and that's really all I cared about, bottom line. Certainly different positions than playing quarterback and everything, but just the intensity and how much time they put into the game, and they treated it like a job, even because that's what it is, and now it is his job, and he treats it the same way as a coordinator. And I really, really enjoyed spending my last season in Illinois College with him as the offense coordinator, and just kind of bringing the same intensity that I wanted to bring to the defense, holding everybody to the same accountability. And I think that was a big credit to our success. And Destin was the same way, just being intense and finding a way to win. That's just how they played the game and how they coach and everything. So yeah, I really enjoyed being with them, and it's nice being with some Auburn people, some Promised Land people.
Like it or not, and it is what it is, but you having the success you've had, Drew, Destin, same thing. What message do you have to kids at Auburn and kids in communities like that where there's not maybe a lot of opportunities, but at the same time, if you put your head down and do the work, it's possible.
That's really, if you have some people have it, some people don't. You really don't know till you get there, but just whatever you do, play hard, and just whenever you're exploring your options, just find someone that trusts you and just talk to people, ask the honest questions, kind of put your pride aside and decide if you're going somewhere to have fun or if winning is what it takes to have fun. And maybe not just winning, but a winning culture can make hard times be fun, with whether it be losing. Hopefully you're not losing, but you can still have a winning culture and not go 10-0. So just kind of look at yourself and decide how much you want to play hard. I want to be a coach, but I just don't know if I could. I don't know if I could handle kids not playing hard, because I know I didn't. I watched my film from high school. I'm like, what am I doing? You don't really know you have that extra gear until you're out there, and you literally have to verbalize to yourself before every play is, I want this to look on film just like how unbelievably hard I'm trying, and just that's all I would tell kids. It's really my only message as far as football, because I was never a big X's and O's guys. I just plead people to play hard, and I just think how you should do anything.
All right. It's not often I have a nurse on the podcast, but I really appreciate your time and your story. I think it's amazing, and really happy for you, really proud of what you were able to accomplish, and really just appreciate your time. So thank you so much.
Appreciate you. It's unbelievable what you've done for high school sports and following a guy like me that moved across Texas. It's unbelievable. I really appreciate it. It made high school sports and college sports more fun than I think anybody else got to experience. So really appreciate you and everybody.
Awesome. Thank you, sir.
Yep.